Great. Hello and welcome to another episode of A Classical Republican. Today we are talking about the top reasons why the Idaho GOP acts like the Grand Council for Idaho. Okay, so let me explain why. So first of all, I didn't put top 10 because there's a bunch of, well, some of these kind of overlap. So I'm just gonna go on ahead with the my analysis as a classical Republican. There we go. And it's an Idaho classical Republican because I got the white Phrygian cap of liberty there. So that's a nod to the flag of Idaho, which portrays a Phrygian cap of liberty on its flag. Okay, let's go in. Okay, these aren't in any order. Censure of membership. So I put this picture of Liz Cheney on there because she's probably the most famous Republican who has been censured by her party, by her state party in Wyoming. We do that in Idaho too. We had at the last convention, we did try to punish a member. It was very, gee, I don't remember if it even came up. Well, I don't even remember if it came up for a vote, but we tried. It was on the list, and we tried to punish a member, and it was really petty because what happened was they tried to. Well, I guess this one government official who was a Republican was doing something illegal, and this one member, this one Republican called out the Republican who was doing something illegal, like a good citizen, and got that Republican government official in trouble. And so somebody else who was a supporter of the naughty Republican, wanted to punish the Republican who tattled. So yeah, it was very very petty. Yeah, I could have put a picture of the person that we sent, or that we tried to censure, or I mean, I wasn't supporting it, but we almost did. But you wouldn't know who she was. And so for my American audience, pretty much everybody knows Liz Cheney from Wyoming. All right, so that's a pretty, that when I'm talking about the Idaho GOP being like a Grand Council. The Grand Council was a very large body that, elected officials, kind of set policy, and, occasionally voted on things that the people, the upper echelons, the more aristocratic councils would not really, were not really sure about if there would be support for it. So they would just take it over to the Grand Council and say, what do you guys think about this? And then they would vote. Okay, so let's go on. So the convention is comparable in size. So the actual procedure of how it works, there are some similarities there. We had 750 people in the room that you can see there. Supposedly, what you see there on the right, the little painting of the Venetian Grand Council is, well, supposedly there's about 1,000 people there, or 2,000 to 3,000 people could meet in that room in the chamber of the Grand Council, which is the largest room in the Palazzo Ducale, the Doge's Palace in Venice. So yeah, Florence had what, 500? They could fit 500 in their council chamber. Venice could fit 1,000 to 3,000, depending on when you're talking about. And we had 750, and so there's some similarities on how we get business done there in our convention, as you see on the left. I am not in that picture because I was taking that picture. But that was my delegation right in the front. So the size is they're similar. Well, as far as representation. So what we got here, so it's a default. By default, it is more representative, the Idaho GOP, of Idaho voters than any other party. So altogether, we have 991,000 plus voters. 531,000 of those are Republicans. So right there, we got the majority, you can tell. We have 310,000 plus that are unaffiliated, 134,000 plus that are Democrats, and 10,000 plus that are registered libertarians. Now, those are registered libertarians. Libertarians don't like to register for anything. So that's I think libertarians are, you know, they number they're much more numerous in Idaho than we can calculate here. So yeah, so it's just more representative of all of Idaho in a sense. Okay, so you have it's the largest party, and so yeah, that makes it more representative than any other party, definitely. The convention of the Idaho GOP every 2 years elects party officers, and also every 4 years the presidential electors. Okay, so yeah, both parties do that. However, only Republicans the Republican presidential electors, the ones elected at the convention, are actually going to go cast a ballot. Okay, because that's the way we do our electoral college. It's whoever gets the majority that they get. You know, their electors are sent to the Capitol in Idaho to cast their ballots, and then those ballots are sent to Washington, D.C., where they are counted, and hopefully nobody storms the Capitol while that's going on. Hopefully that doesn't happen. There were Idahoans there, yeah. Okay, let's go on. So that's a pretty important thing for the you know, Idaho Republicans, that we're the ones who actually elect or actually cast votes for the election. So you can see in this picture here, you have 4 people. At the head of the table is the governor. He's just hanging out with he's not doing anything. He's just hanging out with the electors. And so the electors are the ones who cast their ballots for president. Yeah, so if you're, yeah, like I tell all my students, you know, I always ask them, who elects the president? And there's always somebody who says the people, and I tell them, nope, not the people. It's these people right here in the picture, in the 4 people in the center, because Idaho gets 4 votes, 4 electors. Okay, and that's very similar to the old Grand Councils, because the old Grand Councils elected the vast majority of all officers, yeah, magistrates and other deliberative bodies, and so the yeah, so elections, yeah, very important. And then you could also argue that the you know, what's going on in the primary is you know, that's going to be the people who are elected in the Republican primary are the ones who are going to go off and become the elected leaders in the general election, because they win. There's only a few districts in Idaho that have, here, I've got a, oh yeah, yeah, so there's a few districts in Idaho where that, yeah, so there, here you can see a very red state, just with just a few districts where Democrats are elected. And there, Yeah, and this is from 2020. The districts have changed, and it'll be interesting to see. I'm filming this at the end of July 2022. And apparently that blue spot in the middle has been gerrymandered enough to get a Republican elected. So it's not so solid blue anymore. Okay. Let's go back. So many libertarians and Democrats register as Republicans because they want to have a say in who will become the office holder. Okay. So they want to have a say. And so there's and especially in this last convention, this Republican convention, there were a bunch of resolutions and well, yeah, in the rules committee also, and platform committee, they talked about how they can purify the party, and yeah, I guess that's, that's a real thing, because you do have a lot of crossover voting, because you have Democrats and libertarians long ago decided to register as Republican. Democrats, I think, are doing it even more nowadays. And so there were efforts where you would have to, well, I'll get into that in a minute, but yeah, they were looking at all different ways to make sure that we had a pure Republican Party. Not average Idahoans who want to have a say in with their political leaders. So yeah, I've done videos on that before, so look at those. So factions within the party are representative of most factions in Idaho. So I couldn't really get a map that showed the McGeeton, what was it, McGeeton Little breakdown, but she won, oh, what was it? It was, what was it, 60-40, or maybe, no, I think it was a little bit more in the way of Little. And he was able to, yeah, he beat her, but there was, definitely a faction that was a minority for McGeeton, who was the far right. Little is the moderate right. And so, but that in and of itself is representative of the factions in Idaho. Now, the convention creates guiding principles and policy. So I already alluded to this. This is where we come up with platform. And of course, not everybody listens to the platform, but they can pick it up and show it and say, be like, hey, this is, in an appeal to authority, and say, this is what the people want. It's in the Republican Party platform. And resolutions, which only last 2 years. And so the resolutions, yeah, platforms supposed to be more principles. Resolutions is supposed to be like, hey, get it done now. And then rules, that's how the Republican Party is supposed to function. And that's, but that's, yeah, so that doesn't impact a lot of things. The rules anyway, other than the functioning of the party. Now, I was talking about the attempts to purify the party, and there was a proposal. Well, I think it did pass to quarantine, and they were effectively quarantining new voters, new registered Republicans for 2 years, or for two primary elections. And I think, that's just shooting themselves in the foot, shooting the Republican Party in the foot, because it's like, and there were a lot of religious metaphors, and some people said, oh, you don't bring, you don't find a new convert and make him your religious leader, your congregational leader. But I thought it was more like, hey, you get a new convert, and then you say, you got to want this so bad that you're not going to come worship with us for 2 years. Are you in it? Are you dedicated enough? That's basically what they were saying. And so they were, so I mean, any other party, any other party in Idaho is in minority status. So I mean, that would be awful if they said, we would like you to join us, but you need to not vote for 2 years. You got to want it that bad. So, but I think that shows a confidence in their majority. The majority isn't going to slide anytime soon. I mean, there's rhetoric, always saying, "Oh, the Democrats are investing money and they're going to take Idaho, turn Idaho blue." But yeah, I don't really see that happening. And I think, people who supported those proposals to get the these proposals to purify the party in that manner, really felt that confident that they could keep the majority. So, and that's it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and long live the Republic.